A shack is basically...
A shack? Well, ask Stu.
Well, a shack is wherever your radio is. It's for me, it's a computer desk. I'm moving house, so there's nothing on the desk. So is it really a shack anymore?
Well, it's where I am now. It's where I twiddle knobs on my radios.
Come kill, what is a ham radio shack?
I'm going to give you a full shack tour. So I hit the pause button, go and get a cup of coffee, because this isn't just about my radio. It's about all the thinking that went behind it. How I do what I do, what mistakes I've made. If you go back 100 years, you had, nasty accumulators, cells, batteries, whatever else. You had spark gap generators, and generally they put the shack, on the top of the ship or outside because it was, noisy, messy, and all sorts of things. And they called it a shack. It was like a wooden shack,
Brilliant, Cal. Thanks for the history lesson.
But of course, amateur radio operators came along and decided, well, we'll just carry on using the name. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to run through the electrical, internal coax, my HDMI, how I take the screen on my radio and put it on my any monitor I want, how I set up a live stream, how I use N1MM. And then there's something you don't know about is I've just finished the voice keying project. So this is the automatic, I don't have to talk, but it'll speak for me. And that's taken a while, to be honest.
Yeah, we need to see more of that.
It's really good fun. When I'm at home, I can remote on the whole, from cold, I can remote everything on. I'll show you how I do that. We've got the coax run externally to the field, and then we've got some switching going on, and I've got a new toy here I'm going to show you, and we'll go out to the field as well. So the new toy I've got is the Genius 8x2, which I'm going to run in manual mode. And this has basically, I have two VFOs, because I've got my left VFO, my main VFO, my right VFO, to any 8 antennas. The first 4 are probably going to be transmit antennas, maybe 5, might have a 160 metre sort of doublet thing, 3 dedicated receive antennas, and it means that any one of these can go to any VFO. It's quite expensive, but I've been saving my pennies, and that's what we're going to do. So it just needs an Ethernet. This goes out in the field, but that's going to be a dedicated video all on its own. That's the bit that's been missing for about a year while I've been saving my pennies. Okay, so that just arrived yesterday, actually.
Yeah. Well, it's not radio, though, is it?
So, electrical. Now, I made a video about this, but we've got 2 32 amp circuits at 230 volts, whatever it is in the UK, outside there. One of those circuits comes in to this room and goes on another breaker to 20 amp little circuit just for this room. The landlord doesn't know why, but it's all been tested, that's fine. So I've got 32 amps breaker and a circuit there into a 20 amp circuit here. Now when Wendy and I and Lockie used to be in this room, she'd put the kettle on and the heater and it would trip. So what I did is I drilled through the hole and plugged into a socket out there on a heavy 20 amp cable and ran my own little extension lead, if you like, down to here. Now most of my equipment doesn't take hardly any power at all, apart from the ACOM 2000. We did that to separate this shack from the office area, and while I was at it I put some ferrite cores. I don't know if it helped, I just did it anyway. And then we made an adjustment. Is I put a Shelly 4PM, I think it's called, and I bought a little box of tricks on the wall over there, and I made, if you like, a piece of equipment. So some people thought that I was tapping into the mains or I needed special approval, but as you know, certainly in this country, as long as you've got a plug on the end of it, you can basically make whatever you want and plug it in. It's got a 13 amp fuse, so that's easy. That means that as long as the mains is in the workshop outside, I can be at home, fire up this, and from cold, fire up the 12 volt power supply, the TS990, and the Windows machine, because I adjusted the BIOS to say, when you see power, switch on. All right, so it's all on at the moment, so I can't do it right now. But I haven't got the ACOM on, so we'll do that right now. Click. That was the relay, and all we've got is that down here I've got the red light on the ACOM 2000. It's too big to sit on the desk, right? However, there is, for a few $100s you can buy this remote on switch. But what I discovered on the head unit on the ACOM 2000s, if you follow back to the RS232 port, is that if you short out pin 5 to ground when it's all connected, it's the equivalent of hitting the on-off button, because I couldn't actually go heat up. There's no way of doing it. Now these are absolutely tiny, but they switch up to 16 amps. Tiny little thing. I was just after, I supplied mains to this and just use it as a switch. So on my Shelly app, I've got it programmed for, it says 1 second. So when I hit this button, it shorts out the amp and it comes on like this. There we are. So that's the amplifier booting up now. So I can do all this from the house.
Oh, show me that again.
So these are really good. You can switch mains. They're so small they can go inside plug points, all sorts of things. Not expensive either. So they connect via Wi-Fi. The Shelly 4PM also connects via Wi-Fi or Ethernet, and I wanted it via Ethernet. That's how I remote the shack on. Obviously switching it off is easy from the software. The internal coax, I've made a cock up here actually. I've got on the wall, I was going to have all the different radios out, but I just don't do that, I found out. So the TS2000, which is sitting over there at the moment, is destined to go back in the car, so I don't need that. The 590 sits in its case for holidays, although I'm considering taking it home and putting up a DX Commander in the garden. There'll be a video about that. Why I want to do that is because I want to do some tests, and I wanted a station reliable that was about 5 miles away where my house is, which means I can remote into the TS590, I can key down on 5 watts here, and I can make some changes to antennas here. It'd be a great video actually, and just to see the difference on signal strength. So that's what I want to, the only reason I want to do. That switch is redundant and a waste of time, and so is the AT4K. We had that down at Uplands Farm, the AT4, and it's all in line at the moment, so there's patch leads everywhere, which has probably got a little bit of loss in it. We had the AT4K on the doublet down at Uplands Farm. Lovely, right? And the doublet is basically it was two 30-metre legs, balanced feeder, right down to the back of the AT4K, and it was fine. And that was great on 80/40 and 160. Hang on. That's the ACOM ready. There's no way of putting balanced feeder in here. The landlord doesn't want overhead, and you can use heavy coax and stuff and go underground. They do that on the broadcast, for balanced feeder, but if I just put tuned antennas up, then I don't need it. So that's got to come out of line. That's a waste of time. I really only want on the desk in front of me the TS990, and that's it. Over here we've got the 9700. That was a temporary fix just to make sure it all works. I'm doing some development on the 2 and 70 antenna at the moment, and I've got a cheat, is that the coax just goes along the floor to the outbox, which we'll show you in a minute. How do we fire up, before I go live? It was quite interesting. That's the monitor only, and then when I go live I add in a couple of cameras and stuff left and right. So let's fire up N1MM. The radio's already running. If I'm remote, I will also fire up something called ARCP. I'll show you what it looks like. That's the ARCP software. Hang on, just let it settle down. It allows me to control the radio. It's very colorized right now, and I don't know why, but I'm not adjusting the screen. Sorry about that. All right, go back to how you see it, which is something like this. What we do have is the ACOM Director software, which is pretty cool. I'll show you, and we can connect, and that's it, connected. But I hide most of that, so you can only see the output. There it is. About 400 watts with 15 in. And at the top of the screen is actually showing this telly up here. So we run CamDesk, and CamDesk allows me to pick up the back of the 990 and send it somewhere, and here it is. But what we do is I move it over here to the TV, behind me, and then I'll double click it and it goes full size, and then I just grab the TV and put it in front of you there. So that's basically what's happening right now. What is really cool, after I've layered all this stuff on, is I've got, and we'll go to a frequency that is really quiet, and we'll turn the power right down and make sure I'm in band. This is 5 watts, alright, and we'll go to the long wire. Nobody will hear me on that. So, like, Tom calls me. This is on a contest now.
0 MY stroke portable. Thanks. Your report is 5914 over.
And he'll say, you're also 5914, and then I can hit either F8 or F9, I think.
73, good luck, bye-bye. Thanks.
And then get back to me.
CQ, hello, Mike 0. X-ray Tango, M0XXT, Mike 0. X-ray Tango, CQ, over.
I'll make a video about this whole voice keying thing, because it's actually quite good fun, to be honest.
Now that's impressive.
So the mistakes I made were probably the outbox in the corner of the room here. I just think if you buy a box for the wall, best to spend a little bit more money and buy a bigger box. That's all. Just buy the biggest box you can. Now it becomes really expensive for outside boxes, so expect to pay over $100, £100 really, for a box 600 by 400. So that's going to be 2 foot by 1.5 foot, and 30 centimeters a foot deep to get your gear in and all sorts of stuff. And that was did a couple of good videos on that. The pulling the coax through was good fun with Mike. And by the way, a lot of people said, why didn't you use washing up liquid to make the thing, make the coax slippy? We used a specialist 3M pulling wire goop, whatever it's called, and it's the right stuff because it's completely inert to cables. If you use washing up liquid, and by the way, there are some stories out there, horrendous stories out there on the internet, where people have done that, and after a period of a couple of years, it eats through all the insulation. So be very careful. I mean, it looks probably a bit funny on camera, but we've got scaffold poles up and a lot of lights. They're all LED, so it's only pulling about 200 watts in total, whereas before I was pulling about 800 watts with the fluorescents. Fluorescents are fine, and very often if I'm doing some work on my own, I'll have the fluorescents and the LEDs on for extra light. But I wanted something that was comfy, interesting, a little bit of colourful, and I wanted another way of using up all the scaffold poles and the connectors we used when we made the desks, okay, because the desks I made them. And we got a couple of these. These desks that the camera has been sitting on for a while came out of next door when we took over it, and that's where all the work happens next door. This is just like my development room, and beyond here for the rest of the unit is storage. It used to be, this was Deer's Commander. And then we got to see these lovely cabinets, and I've got all my shit, all right? A ton of shit, and I don't know what to do. So I'm thinking of finding a way of taking all that shit and putting it in the cabinets, and then we just can't see the shit, all right? Be a lot easier. And that here would give us a bit more room in here. Because sometimes I've had 5 or 6 people in here. We had a weekend here not so long ago, and it wasn't cramped. We managed to eat and everything in here as a team. It would have been nicer to have a little bit more room. And then the other thing is, and I've put relevant videos underneath in the description, is that these soft foam blocks we've got on the ceiling, on the walls here, they genuinely make a difference. So if you've got and they look quite cool as well, and you can shine coloured lights at them and they look nice, but they've taken away all that deep reverb. It's not quite as it's got the wrong size ceiling here, so I'll always get the reverb. I've got a ton more tiles here to stick if I want to, if I can get around to it, but anyway, we'll see. All my 12 volts, by the way, are on a rail, so I've got one power supply, it does everything. Again, that comes off the ferrite core, so I've got, if anything that is connected to this radio, whether it be a USB line, a ground line, or anything else, all comes through the one filter. I don't know if I'm going to break that law when I put this 12 volt power supply, which I need to graft on, out in the field for the Genius 8x2. We'll see about that. So let's go outside. I'll show you how the cable pull happened, and I'll show you what happened when we did the field. So outside we've got this box here. It always looks a mess, doesn't it? I don't know what's what. Okay, so the big stuff. There's our ins. There's my main transmit, and that's a backup. And then I've got two coming in. These are my outs. That comes out into the shack. So there's an out into the shack. When I say out, that's actually coming in. That's going to the field. That's the point. All right. So it's nice and simple. I've got a load of spare stuff here as well, Ethernet and whatever else, and we'll gradually use that up as time goes on. I think actually we've got the current coax switch on that grey line there, or one of these. There's quite a few of them, and this cable pull was quite interesting. And then the landlord dug all the way to the field. That's 40 metres, so 3 4s of 12, about 130 feet, all the way to the antenna field. I've got the dogs here tied to the generator. I'm not going to show you the generator today. I've shown you it a couple of times. But one of the reasons I like it is that we can put a stub mast and stick 270 on it. I will probably eventually put a rotator on that and a 270 on the top for the 9700. Not quite sure what I'm going to do on vertical polarization, but anyway, it's never ending, isn't it? Shacks. Right, you two, this way. Oh, somebody's tapped at the window and I can see Wendy there and she's waving. I don't know if you can see her. Hello, Wendy. So she's in. So yeah, 40 metres from, I think it's 42 metres, takes us from the cabinet to the field. So let's have a look at the field. I'll just let the dogs go. Hang on, wait. Off you go. I put the leads around my neck, so if another dog comes nearby, I can grab Django, you know. Let's open the other cabinet now. Luckily it's the same key, and I keep it on my key ring. These bits against the shack, left and right goes to the same coax, left and right, and these are various inputs at the moment. So this one here goes to the rat pack, which I'll show you, and these are currently receive antennas. So we've got 3 antennas in total, but we've got the rat pack, and the rat pack is controlled with this thing here, but that will be redundant shortly. And then, this calls the right for all. This is my socket, which is on a 20 amp blue cable. If you put a plug on something, a 13 amp plug, you're allowed to basically do anything. I didn't wire that in to the fuse box. So we've got the main 32 amp breaker, we've got the 20 amp breaker, and then there's a plug point where that plugs into, and that's got its own breaker as well. You know, one of those plug point top things. So there's 3 breakers. Along here we come to the current switch box from Array Solutions, and that's controlled with this cable here. And up here somewhere, I'll put you upside down, are the various cables. But the problem we've really got is that when I'm remote, I can't do anything. I can't switch anything. So I've just got to leave it. And what I do is I leave left VFO on the rat pack, normally onto the 12.4. The right VFO I leave on the very, very long wire. If you haven't seen that video, I'd go have a look at it. Oh yes, it's a 64:1 band, and there is the very long wire, and it goes up here and all the way at my kind of head height. You can just see my touching it there, and off that goes all the way down the farm. Fantastic, because America's that way. Fantastic. And then on 40 and 80, I've noticed really lovely receive. Fantastic. So I'm always developing stuff. This is a top-loaded 20 and 40 single element. Absolutely fascinating. I made a video about that as well, and it does work. So I've got 40 and 20 on one element. It's to do with harmonics and coils, quite interesting. So recently we did the video about putting these in. Dogs have got off on one look. One of the reasons we did this, these elevated guys, is so when the dogs are running around, they don't get caught up in these things. Look, very loose. Look at that, very loose. But I like fiberglass poles with loose guys. Works well. Now I need to get some weed killer out here or something, because again we made a video about this. There's a big plate under here, and I've got 4 grounds. There's one there, look, going to this plate. And then what we did is we put, I think it was 3 or 4 reels of DX10 in, and I just pinned them all in with the little green pins. Oh, I can't remember what I call them, radial pins. So this is my old original Signature 12. It's the old style. It's got the white plates, not the grey plates, and it's the prototype. So what we need to do is rebuild this completely from new with the new grey plates and stuff. By the way, if you live locally, I've always got my previous builds. I never know what to do. You ought to get in touch with me and say, you know, I'll buy your old stuff, because it's scrap for me, you know. So we're in the corner of the field here, and what I want to do is put another couple of posts and a 6-metre fiberglass pole, and put Steve Nelson's dish literally there. Can't remember where it's got to go. Yeah, there. Right in the middle of the screen is my house, and it is literally line of sight technically from about here. So if I can get it up 6 metres, we can put his dish here, we can put a vertical on my house, and I've already got the vertical, and we should be able to get either a backup internet, or I was thinking of having my office having the home internet on it, and then the office that Wendy and Lockie are in, putting them on the broadband that we have for the office. And then that way I can have, when I remote in, I'm on the same subnet. I'm on the same, it'd be like having my radio literally next to me. I think that'd be such a cool thing, have your own microwave link. It's about 5 miles, 7,000 meters, I seem to remember. So the upgrades that are happening in this field is, the next build is going to be one of the 18s here, and the new 18 with the grey plates and everything, so that'll go in here. We've got the new Rapide to go in. A new Rapide's going probably down here where Junior's trying to have a crap. You're going to go, what do you mean a new Rapide? Well, we've got a ground post for the new Rapide. We will launch it on a special deal, so don't worry, you'll be able to get hold of it. Similar to the Signature 9, so it'll be no guys, grey plates. For the HOA people, it should be absolutely fantastic. Stick it in the corner of the garden. So we'll do an experiment. We'll put out 90-degree radials, and then we'll be able to switch, of course, remotely between, whatever I've got up here, my main transmit antenna, and various backups. And we've had a couple of failures as well on dipoles and whatever else, but I'll put up dedicated, probably an 80-40 fan dipole. We did put one up in here somewhere, and you'll probably still see the remnants of it. Let's see if I can find it. It's up there somewhere. We'll reinstall that. And then I'm actually thinking of a half-wave end-fed for 160. It's just going to be easier than a dipole. Anyway, we'll work on that. So it'll be probably 5 different transmit antennas, and certainly 3 receive antennas, plus the 4th, because I've got a button on the 990 for receive only, and there's a coax already goes in for that. So that should be fun. Oh, we do have a couple of loops going on. Just behind there I've got a loop on the ground. There's a video about that. And so 15 feet square, 3.5 meters square. Very often I'll plug that in, listen when I'm on 40 meters. Now we had an experiment which isn't connected at the moment, but it will be. It's about, can't remember how long that is. 25, about 100 meters of wire. It goes all the way around the field here. I put that in, and that's quite nice. Not perfect. I actually prefer the tiny little loop, but it's great when we had a little bit of QRN, whatever you want to call it, man-made interference, knocking around on the site. And you could, I'm thinking, you know, for 80 metres it might be quite nice. I might take it off actually and put it on this height, because that will make all the difference. Bring it up to there. I'm just using the ATU because I'm not going to get a perfect tune. It's on a 4-to-1 Ballon, just by the cabinet here. John Gendron, maybe this 3-element parasitic, it's not actually, it's a 3-element phased array, triangular array. And I spoke to the landlord because there's a kind of he's done some new fencing here, and there's a kind of a little corner here. I'd like to put John Gendron's 3-element vertical, probably either for 20 or 40, probably 20, just to give me a little bit more forward gain to the US or VK or whatever comes in, Brazil or something. But with John and I, we've briefly spoken, because the control box is manual. I need it on some relays or something so we can remote control that as well. It'll get to the point where I'll need 2 remote screens. I don't know how we're going to live stream this, but anyway, we'll work it out. What's this? This is a 12-metre pole. Mike made me a Gain Master. It goes right up there somewhere. I had a really good video about people who use CB antennas on the 20-metre band and about how crap it is, basically. Oh, I think the boys want to kick around. Okay, bring me the ball then. Hup, come. I believe Steve Nelson has just sent me something down. Now, Steve is an old timer, and he wanted my address the other day. He said, I've got something to send you. Now, Steve originally sent us the 2 dishes for the Wi-Fi connection between Uplands Farm and here. Before you open me, go and find a 12-volt centre power supply. No. What the hell is it? I'm not quite sure what it is. Right, I dropped Steve a text. I go, I love it. What is it? He said, plug the bloody thing in. It is a handmade shack clock. Obviously, it's on boot up there. So this is our new shack clock. Steve, you're a diamond. I don't think I've missed much, but if there's something that you want me specifically to concentrate on in the video, then just leave a comment and say, I want to know how your remote audio works. I want to know more about these Shelly switches or something, or about how to pull the cables in or something, whatever you want. I'll make a little video for you.
That is your shack, I guess.
See how they miss these guy lines? Great, isn't it?
Cheers, mate. I'm catching a little bit.
This is harder than it looks, isn't it?
Have you had your pills today?